I am in group 1. I'm doing managing conflicts. My name is Ashley Romero. This is my sister-in-law, my 2 children, and my husband is operating the camera. For my part in managing conflicts, I went throughout potential conflicts that would arise throughout any part of the ceremony. Indian culture dictates that you need to be respectful, traditional, and to do this, the bride, for a wedding ceremony, the bride needs to wear red. In Indian culture, that shows that it is a joyous occasion. Whereas over here in America, we traditionally wear white. White in India is what's worn to a funeral. And if a gentleman decides to wear black, black is a sign of mourning. So the bride, to avoid conflict and disrespect the family, should wear a traditional red dress. On the second day of the wedding, the husband's family and the husband goes and sends henna to the bride. And the bride is to have someone adorn her arms and legs in henna. And it's a type of ink that stays on your arms and legs for generally 1 to 2 weeks. And if she doesn't want to offend her in-laws, she needs to be able to wear the henna, and she needs to wear it as long as possible. Indian people are also extremely modest, though their clothing is very colorful and flashy and beaded. They also need to be very modest. So if the bride decides to have her wedding party wear gowns, they need to be floor-length gowns. They need to cover shoulders, no low gowns, no cleavage, nothing like that. But the bride and the family also need to let the guests know that there is to be no revealing clothing, no short skirts for any of the wedding guests. If the bride decides, generally the Hindu faith is the more prominent of the religions over in India, and if she decides to go and have her wedding in the temple, she needs to learn the customs and traditions and the rules of the temple. They are very different from the Christian rules. One of the rules is no socks or shoes or pantyhose or anything of that sort. So she needs to let her guests know that, because you don't want anyone having to do that in the middle of the ceremony. Not just that, no one's allowed to wear shoes in the temple, so it would be extremely disrespectful to not only the in-laws, but the priest and the gods of the temple. And during certain parts of the ceremony, no photography is allowed, because some of these ceremonies are extremely sacred and they do not allow photography whatsoever. During the reception, traditional Indian food is generally served. If it's in the temple, it tends to be vegetarian. But one of the things that they do with Indian food is they generally eat with their right hand. The left hand is considered unclean, the right hand is considered clean. So the bride needs to let her bridal party and any of her guests know that they need to be eating with their right hand, because the left hand is considered unclean. It would be disrespectful to the in-laws. Not just that, some of the dishes have a tendency to be a bit spicy for our Western palate. And under no circumstances are any of the guests to complain or comment on the food other than something positive. Again, it is extremely disrespectful. When it comes to greeting others in India, elders should be addressed by Mr. and Mrs. They should not be addressed by their first names. The bride is not to be kissed or danced with by any other men. That's part of the modesty. They are to be only kissed or danced with by their husbands. Generally, women and men do not touch each other out in public. So even if you have your spouse, or if the bride's party has their spouse with them, you are not to show any kind of public displays of affection. Also, when they get together at a reception, the women all go and congregate on one side and the men congregate on the other, because it is improper and disrespectful to have men and women conversing. And whenever you greet each other, because of the lack of touching, you're supposed to go, the traditional greeting is your palms together and you bow a little bit and you say namaste. Over here we shake hands. Over there, they do not touch between genders. So if the bride and her family wants to show signs of respect, not only to the in-laws, but to the priest and to the gods, she needs to be mindful and respectful of everyone involved. Thank you.